Welcome back. We've got some really good stuff we're going to work on today. I probably teased you with my last video about my big glass day where I got a lot of good glass pieces. Let me just show you a few of those. In the background here we got a bunch of them, but this big red vase I think is going to be exciting. We're going to take that, and I've got some new bowls that I found, so we're going to be using a bowl with that to create a fountain. It actually does show the light inside, so we've got fairy lights that we're going to be using to, I don't know if you can see that, but you will be able to see the lights in there. So we're going to put the fairy lights inside and create a fountain with that. I got a number of other pieces that are really exciting, but first let's take a look at a few pieces that are going to go together today. I have, turn the camera a little. I have this piece, which is a great vase. I'm sure it's crystal. We're going to be using that. I've got some blue plates. This particular one has some water stains and a lot of scratches on it, so it probably wouldn't be really good upright like that, but that's okay. I'm going to be using it as a base today. I have a large, I actually have two of these large bowls. They're really not deep enough for a fountain, but my wife has said she wants a bird bath for the front yard, so we're going to put together a bird bath with a couple of pieces I have, this being one of them. This stemmed vase, if you will, is another one, and the blue, we're going to be all in blues today, so you'll want to stay to the end of the video to see how this goes together for the bird bath, how the red vase goes together for the fountain, and I've got a couple other surprises too for some sculpture, so stay with it. All right, today we're only going to do two things because I have to let some of these pieces dry before we move on. This, while very large, heavy, and good looking vase, it's not going to be very colorful, even though we are using some blue plates, bowls above it. So we're going to try and use a few other colors. I'm going to take this. This is actually going to be, this whole thing is going to be inverted, but I want to add some color with this blue vase, which otherwise might have been tricky to find a home for. So let me just try and look at the dry fit. Okay, I'm going to put a ring of silicone there, and you probably know by now I use silicone for my construction. This latest tube, you just can't tell sometimes. This latest tube might have been on the shelf a little while. It does not flow as well as I would like, so you really have to squeeze it out. Sometimes I don't know, I think they dry out or harden up a little bit in the tube sometimes. I've had others that have come out just fine. Okay. Of course, if I don't put the cap on, it's going to dry out. Okay, we want to hit the spot with that right away. Took my turntable away, which is helpful when you really want to see how well you hit the center, how vertical it is. It's tough when you're when you're building them up so high. I think that'll be fine. Normally I run a pinky along the silicon edge just to smooth it out. I don't think I can reach to do that this time without making it worse. So we're going to let that dry overnight. Piece one. Second piece is going to be this. Now the Birdbath is going to sit on this as a pedestal, but putting it together that way is awkward to see. So we're going to do it upside down. We're going to take the vase. Again, just check our dry fit. Okay. What I can't tell from here, and I may have to adjust that when this piece gets married to the other piece, is to make sure my Birdbath is level as much as possible. And I know I've said this before, in glass making, there's not always that precision to have the bottom of the piece and the top of the piece exactly parallel. You wouldn't notice to look at it, but when you start doing some of these constructions, it shows up. Suddenly something is off kilter a little bit and you're scratching your head. That's just the fun of it. I'm really glad you're watching the channel, but if you've gone through a couple of projects yourself, if you were inspired to build a totem or hanging totem or a fountain or a bird bath, why not share a picture and I'll post it on the YouTube, on the website. Okay, I'm gonna just put, this is on good and solid, but I'm gonna run another bead, if it'll let me, another bead around the bottom. Okay, we're gonna also leave that to dry. So when the two of these have finished drying, we're going to then invert this. Well, actually, I have a plate that I'm gonna put as the base that I was telling you about. It's going to go like that when it's flipped over, just to seal off this chamber and make it a little bit more stable. And then on this side is where this will go. So we'll be back with that when these dry. Okay, we've let things dry overnight, and our pieces are looking good. This is going to be our Birdbath. It's going to sit on top of this, but I'm going to have to invert that. So let me move this to the side. And the idea here is that we're going to put a base down for this for two reasons. I want to make sure it's stable enough, and I also want to make sure that we kind of seal off the bell jar part of it. Just checking this, it's a little wobbly in terms of staying in place all by itself. It'll be fine when I put the silicone there. I think what I'll do, and again I'm going to have to spin it around to make sure it's as flat, as parallel as possible. But I believe I'll take some duct tape or some other tape to just hold it in place while it's drying. I don't think we're going to be able to do this all at once. What I want to do is put this piece on top, but I'm afraid that I want to make sure that dries properly first. So that's the next step. Let me take a minute to find my tape, and we'll be back. I'm going to try a different camera angle now to get this bird bath ready. Put it down on another table. And I think that'll do it. As you can see, looks pretty good. We'll do another shot outside with some water in it, and I'll show you how the other two turn out also. We're going to try a bird bath fountain, garden fountain, that's going to have some fairy lights in it. So let me explain. This is going to be a pretty simple one. We have a vase that has a good base on it. It's heavy. It'll be sturdy enough and stable enough to hold what we're going to put on top, which is a punch bowl for the water for the fountain. The only difference between this and some of the others is that I also will be putting a solar powered fairy light on it. So this will at night light up these little LED lights. The trickiest part of this I have found in the past is playing around with this spring, if you will, of lights. So first thing is, let's get these in. Now this may look like solid red glass to you, but it's actually been tinted, coated in a paint. An interesting string, so I'm going to try to separate these out a little bit. There's no rhyme or reason to this. Now, the only way to really know for sure is to turn it on, and even though we haven't had sunlight, batteries do come with a little bit of, okay, and these usually have a couple of settings, depends how wacky you want them to be, but that'll give you an idea of how the light is setting up. Okay, I've got the lights where I'm happy with them. Play around with them enough to where they're in there. I'm taping this until we get it sealed. This will go on top. It fits very nicely. I'm going to need a good, I don't know which way to do it. I'm going to need a good layer of silicone. I think what I'll do, since it looks like it fits really well, that fits so perfectly I don't need to put it on my turntable to spin it to know if it'll be all right. We're good. So what will happen is you actually have a little stake you can use with this, but you can move this away when it's in your garden to a spot that'll get maximum sun and put the setting that you want. And when it's dark, you can either have it flickering like crazy or change up. This may be steady on. There's some of them that have, I like the one that looks more like fireflies, personally. Okay, and if you're curious about any of these supplies, I have these listed on my description. Go ahead and buy some of them. There are a couple of choices depending on how large your vessel is. These I think are the smaller 50 light strings. There are some that have 100 lights. It really depends what you're using as your container for it. And then I don't have it down here with me, but there is a solar fountain. I also have that listed. Different sizes that will fit inside your bowl of water. And there's another one that has LED lights in it that flash up. A lot of changeable fountain heads for it. I will tell you, depending on how sunny your day is or how the type of fountain you put on it, fountainhead you put on it, you may be replacing water once a day at least, because it gets a little splashy. But then again, maybe if you had it in where you had some other potted plants around it, or plants in the garden around it, it would end up watering them a little bit. But they can get pretty vigorous. But that's the fun of it. Okay, so there we have a simple fountain. Key ingredients are a nice big punch bowl, a nice sturdy base, some fairy lights to put in it, and the solar fountain inside it. I'll take a picture of this once it's all dry and it's outside in a garden setting, and you can see for yourself.